before I remember to do that. There we go. So hello everyone. It is Monday, May the 8th, and we are here in our Skype session for Math 1047. And this is the last Skype session before the matrix test. So the unit finishes on Wednesday. It's a take-at-home test, so you do that from home. I'm just reading TJ saying that he doesn't have any questions at the moment, but he's here to show support. That's awesome, TJ. Thanks. Before I came on, I was just looking at the test, and it's always nice to know how many questions are on a test. So there are 19 questions on the test. It's take at home, so you can have your notes and your textbook in front of you. That's okay. Just so you get an idea of what type of work is involved for the test. There's actually only one matrice that you have to do from start to finish. All of the other questions are just taking out pieces of doing a matrice question. So you really, if you mess up on a whole matrice, you're only going to lose 1 point out of the 19. Everything else is just pieces from what you've learned. Maybe it would say, tell us the, if we give you, I'm thinking about the Kramer's rule for section 9.5, they will give you dx, dy, and z. You have to figure out d and then solve. So you're not going to see where you're going to have to do like 4 whole matrices. There's just one single one, and if you'd like, you can leave that to the very end and then use up your rest of your time for that. All the other questions are just taking pieces out of it. So for instance, it might say, tell me what the augmented matrix is for this system of equations. So then you're just creating the matrix but not doing anything else past that. It might say, okay, here is the augmented matrix. What would you do to get row 1 into row echelon form? And then you'll do something. So I find that students do worry about the test, but you'll notice that between the pre-test and the test, very, very similar, and you'll only have to do one whole matrix. And that being said, when you do that matrix, I recommend that everybody do it on a piece of paper. You're going to need to do it on a piece of paper anyway, and save that paper so that if you go through and you do it and you don't get the right answer, you can always email me your full work and I can give you partial points on it based on that written out work that you do. And that applies to really any test that you do. You should always have scrap paper with you so that when you go over your test afterwards, you have that there to see where you went wrong or where you could get partial points. So TJ, Andrew, do you have any questions about that or about the makeup of the test? I hope that gives everyone a little bit of a heads up of what to expect. I know for myself, if I was expecting everyone to do, 5 full matrices, it would be nerve-wracking, but it's just one matrix that you actually have to solve all the way through, and it's not a hard one. So, so you can kind of rest easy that way as well. Any questions about that?
No, I was just wondering, but you answered it. If generally, the actual test is usually quite similar to the pre-test, so
they should be, and we always work to get it better, to match it up better, but I'll tell you, when we're picking the questions for the test and the pre-test, we get a question bank, and it's like, okay, for underneath this outcome, here are 10 questions that you choose from, and it's like we put question A in the pre-test and question B in the test. So we're trying to pull from the same types of questions so that your pre-test experience is very similar to what your test experience is going to be. Now, that being said, there's still sometimes some polishing that we need to do, but we are trying to get that more aligned every term. So if you see a question in the test that seems to be really way out to lunch that you've never seen before, then just let me know, because that's something that I want to know, so that we can make a note of that and change for the term. But for the most part, we really do hope that the pretest and the test are similar. And that being said, if you go through the pretest and if there's anything you have a question about, you can post in the Q&A, Lori, can you go over this question in the pretest, or bring it to Skype, or send me an email on that, and I would love to go over that question for any student. So if you use the pretest correctly and do an attempt and then go back and review, you should have, that should be great practice for the test. And remember, you're always allowed 2 attempts, and we always take the best of the 2 attempts as well. So students that really use that pretest to its fullest advantage are going to find that they are very well prepared for the test. So that being said, you could do the pretest tonight, and then mark down like what questions you're having problems with. Send those to me. I will help you with the questions you're having problems with, and then when you do pretest attempt number 2, you'll know how to do those types. And just that practice alone in the pretest is going to help you a lot when you go to write that final test. Sorry, that was the long answer.
Pardon me?
That
Sorry, I missed it.
No, that was the long answer. Did you hear? Did you hear any of it?
No, I was just joking.
Oh gosh, jeez. Oh, too funny. How about you, TJ? How does that sound to you? See, this is one of the drawbacks of Skype, because I can't see anybody's faces to see if they start nodding off. TJ's giving me the thumbs up. Awesome. So, Andrew, you sent me 2 questions via Ask Your Instructor, and when I went into that first one, just a second, let me bring it up. I'm going to bring up the whiteboard.
The first one I sent you was more of a comment.
Yeah. Okay, good, because I went in there and I'm like, oh, but he's done it correctly. So that one is, oh, not that one. Oh, using Kramer's rule to solve the system. And so yeah, so that again, when you're solving a matrice from the very, very beginning, and I'm going to let me just copy and paste this in so everyone can see the question that you sent. Let me bring it in. Oh, no, I don't like how it brought it in. Just a sec, let me get rid of that and try a different way. I'm just going to open up my paint in the background. There we go. And then okay. There we go. So this is the one you sent, Andrew, the first one. And you said by the time you solved for DZ, you were dizzy, which is very true. So there will only be one of this type of question on the test where they start you off with just this, sorry, need my arrow, with just the 3 equations, and they're asking you to solve for x, y, and z using Kramer's rule. So that's where you're going to have to find your determinant, d, find dx, find dy, find dz, and then using Kramer's rule, which is that x is equal to dx over d and y. So that's you're only going to have one of these on the test, and the augmented matrix that you create from this, you're going to get something that probably looks along the lines of this. Uh, Let me get that one. Yeah, like that. So that you can use this column here as your minors. So remember, when you're doing your determinants, you can decide what column you want to use. And the reason why I suggest looking for a column with the zeros is because when you do your determinants, you're going to be multiplying the determinant by 0. So the first one is going to be 7, 4, 2, 8. And of course, when you multiply this by 0, it's going to be equal to 0. And the same with your second determinant, again, is going to be, your second minor is going to be 0. And then your last one is going to be the 1. Do you know what I mean by that, guys? About you don't always have to pick column 1 as your minor. You can pick whatever column you want, and the column that has the zeros is the easiest one to use because it's going to cancel out what you're multiplying by. Andrew, did you know that? Had you gotten that
Yeah,
far yet?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's just to be clear, though. It's only the far right column or the far left column, right? You can't use the middle column as your.
No, right. You can't, exactly. You can't use the middle column because well,
I don't
well,
know
you
how you
could.
would, because how would you go about, well, I don't even want to get into that because that'll just mess me up.
Well, if you use the middle column, then, so my first one is going to be this 2, and then my determinant is going to be 7 and 0, and 2 and 1, like that. And then my 4 will be minus 4, and then in that, I would have to do, that's going to be this and this, which will leave me with this, 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 and this one. See how I'm doing that? Like that?
Yeah, I see it. I see.
And then the last one, the 8, I cross out it in the middle, and that's going to leave me with square this one, that one, that one, and that one. So plus 8, and what did I say? 1, 0, whoops, 7, 0. So it can work with any column that you choose. And then you're just crossing out the column in the row that minor is in, and then the ones that are left over are what you put inside of this, your 2 lines. So it doesn't have to be the far right or the far left. It could be the middle one too, but it's really up to you in terms of what column you're going to choose for those. So so don't worry if you find that using the middle column is too difficult. You don't have to use that. You can use whatever column works best for you. It will always end up to be the same answer. Andrew, does that sound okay?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I watched the one of the videos or whatever, and you explained in it how to use the far right column or the far left column. But
Okay.
this is the first I've seen of
Of
the
the
middle column, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So then I'm going to bring up the other one that you had up. TJ, are you okay with that? The big thing here is the idea that you don't always have to use this first column. You're really trying to look for a column that has zeros in it because it's going to mean that you don't have to do as much calculating because, as you know, it's in those little calculations that an error is going to occur and then you won't get the final answer. Oh, That's okay, TJ. You just let me know if you want me to, if you need me to explain something more in depth, okay? Okay, so I'm going to bring up, Andrew, if you're okay, do you want me to bring up the other question involving finding the equation of the line, that second question up?
Yeah, I was successful with that eventually. I just at first I guess I had trouble understanding what they wanted or what they
Yeah.
were asking.
For that one, if you go through like show me an example, it will show you how to set that one up. But let me bring it up just so that everyone can see the question that you had. Really, it's just an application of how you can use matrices and Kramer's rule when you have 2 points on a graph and you want to find the equation of a line. So let me just bring that one up just one moment. Oh, ooh, that's kind of big. Just a sec. Didn't want it that big. Hmm. There we go. So this is the one from that you were looking at, and it's an application problem. So what it's saying is that determinants can be used to write an equation of a line passing through 2 points. An equation of the line passing through distinct points x1, y1, so like point 1, I would call this point 1, and x2, y2 being point 2, is given by the augmented matrix shown here. So they say you put it x, y, 1, and then point 1 is here, x1, y1. Point 2 is here, x2, y2. This last column is all ones is equal to 0. So we can use this augmented matrix here, fill in our points for point 1 and point 2, or x1, y1, x2, y2 value, and we can use this matrix to solve for the equation in slope-intercept form. So what you need to do first is take your point 6, 3 and your point 2, -4 and input it into the matrices. So what you would get is this. So again, this is just an application of matrices, and in this case we're using a matrix to solve for the equation of a line given 2 points. Here is point 1 and here is point 2. Now I won't go through the whole thing because it takes a long time, but I'll get it set up and then explain how to get to that point. Because Andrew, you said eventually you were able to solve it.
Yeah, I just I used the example feature there in my
Yes.
math lab. So
Yep, and then you can apply that if you were to see this type of question again. But it's just neat to see how you can use matrices in different ways to solve problems, and this is one of the ones that they wanted to use. So with this one, I'm going to put, so that's my top row, that stays the same. And then what I want to do is input point 1, which is 6 and 3. There, and then point 2, which is 2, -4, and it's going to go there, and that is all going to be equal to 1. So we can use this setup anytime that we want to solve for an equation of a line. It will work for this. Now, I think most students would probably use find the slope and find the intercept to make the slope-intercept form because that's what we're used to doing. It's just interesting to be able to use matrices to do the same thing. So what they say to do is to expand the determinant, and what they mean by that is to put the matrices into determinant form. So what we're going to do is use this first column here, x, 6, and 2. Those are going to become our minors. So we're going to expand this out. We're going to say x, and then 3, 1, negative 4, 1 is going to be inside there, minus 6, and then inside. So if we take 6 out, that's going to leave us with y, 1, negative 4, 1, and then plus our last one, which is 2, and then inside is going to be y, 1, 3, and 1. So this becomes our expanded determinant, and then we're going to solve for this. So we'll take x, multiply it by the determinant, which is going to be 3 times 1, subtract negative 4 times 1. So it's that cross multiplication. And how you write this, just write it so that you can understand it. The biggest thing is to make sure that you get your signs correct. So that's why I have so many brackets. If I were to simplify this, again, I'm going to multiply by x in the very end. I have 3 times positive 1 is 3. Subtract negative 4 times positive 1, which is negative 4. And then 3 subtract negative 4 is the same as adding 4. So I'll have 4 plus 3 is 7. So that first part would be 7x. So this simplifies to 7x. And then you'd want to go and do the same thing to each of the following. And what that will give you is, and will I be able to, oh, just seeing if I can scroll down a little bit. Sometimes it allows me to scroll down and sometimes it doesn't. Anyway, in the end, when you work this all out, what you're going to get is something that looks like this. 7x minus 6y minus 24 plus 2y minus 6. And that's all going to be equal to this 0. And then to put it into your slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to ax plus b, you're just going to combine like terms. So I have minus 6y plus 2y is going to give me minus 4y, and negative 24 minus 6 equals negative 30. So there's all of my like terms combined, and then I'm going to solve for y to get it into my slope-intercept form. So that means I'm going to bring negative 4y over to the left-hand side. And I apologize, it's getting a little bit messy here, but there's my 4y is equal to 7x subtract 30, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And then I'll get my equation. Y is equal to 7 fourths x minus 30 over 4. And then I would have to reduce this fraction a little bit. 2 goes into both, so I'm going to do that right now just so that I get it into my slope-intercept form. 15 over 2. So it's just showing that you can find the equation of a line given 2 points and inputting them into this augmented matrix. So it's just a way of applying matrices to this type of question. Now, what I'll tell you is that you won't have an application question like this on the test. It's just going to be a straightforward matrix. So these things you're going to need to do for your homework as you've been doing, but you won't have to worry about applying a matrix to a new situation. That's what that Dropbox or the discussion question that you have on nutrients. You can show me on that question how you're able to do an application question for matrices, but you're not going to be expected to do this type of question on the test. So that might be good news to everyone that's watching. Phew. Andrew, how are you with that?
I'm good.
Okay.
Like I said, it was for me. I just had to look at that example, and
Yes.
then once I looked at the example, it made sense. It was just in case you're not familiar with the what is it, the point slope and the slope intercept method. I suppose you could do it this way, but the other
Why
way.
would you, right? No, I agree. It's not the greatest application question because this would be much more difficult than just, using change in x over change in y and find your slope and then going from there. I totally agree that way. But it just goes to show that you can use it, and the way that you did that was by using the question help to follow a question is a great method when it comes to these types of questions. And I see Matthew's joined us. Hi, Matthew. You can hear us okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Perfect. And I see TJ is off to do his test. Good luck, TJ. Are you doing your test or your pre-test? Oh, he's off to do his test. Okay, TJ, good luck. If you wanted to try your pre-test, I'm here till 8:30 if you wanted to bring any of those questions in. Okay, so you're all set. Well, good luck, TJ. I'll check in and see how you did later. Matthew, do you have any questions for us tonight that you wanted to go over? At the beginning, I said that if anybody wanted to go and work on their pretest and bring that in, I'm happy to go over pretest questions here. The pretest and the test are going to line up hopefully pretty well, and you don't have to do that now. But if students wanted to try the pretest and then ask me questions through email or the Q&A, I'm happy to take the pretest questions because the pretest is really a learning opportunity to just see how you're doing on those types of questions so that when you get to the test, you're prepared with those questions.
I haven't made it to the pretest yet. I'm just kind of finishing up 9.5 right now.
Excellent.
But,
You're on.
I
Great. That's good to hear.
yeah, so I did actually have a question for you though.
Perfect.
On 9.5 CV-2, the question asks to solve the system using Cramer's rule.
Yes.
So when I worked out the question, I actually went as far to put the matrix in and then I solved it using the rule and everything, but it gave it to me wrong, saying all it wanted was the matrices in the boxes.
Oh. Okay. I'm gonna look and see how that one looks and bring it up. So that, I'm just going to go into that. That's the homework, right, for
Yeah.
9.5. Okay. Give me 1 second and I'll bring that up.
Yeah, I just asked just in case like it ends up asking me to solve it another time that it really wants the full answer.
Yes, yeah. If that happens on the test, let me know. At the very beginning, I was saying to Andrew and to TJ that if there are, when you go back to review your test, if there's anything that I can give partial marks on, or like for instance, there's only one matrice that you have to solve in full of the 19 questions that you're going to see on your test. So when you do that matrice, do it on scrap paper, and then afterwards, if you find that you messed up on one part, you can scan that scrap paper in and show me, and I can give you part marks based on that.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, and that's for any test that we have in the whole term. So not just for Unit 1, but any test, always have your scrap paper. And if there's anything that you want me to look at that's a little bit more involved, you can just take a picture of your scrap paper and send it to me. That's no problem. So you're looking at Homework D section 9.5. So I'm going to open that up. And what was the question number?
It was number 2.
Number 2. Use Cramer's rule to solve the system. Does it look like this? Let me just bring this up. Print screen. Okay. Was it this one?
It's just taking a second to load.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the question.
Okay. And then they wanted you, did they just want dx over d for x?
Dx
Like that?
D.
Like that?
I believe so. Like they just wanted the matrices. So like you would take what would it be? 20 plus 2, or sorry, I guess it would be 20 and 2 over what's the next one? 2 and -6 on the top line, and then on the bottom one it would have your 8 and 2 and 7 and -6.
Oh, but you gave the full solution. So
I did, yeah.
you worked out and it said it was wrong.
Right.
Ah, okay. Yeah, if that happens to you on the test, you just let me know, and I go in and I can see that you solved the numerator and the denominator, and I give you full points for that.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay, and again, that's a deficiency of using my math lab, so that's why we have a human instructor. And my students in the past, after they write the test, they go back in through gradebook to review it, and then they write down what questions that they want me to review. So they'll say, Lori, can you look at questions? They'll give me 10 questions that they'll want to review, and then I'll go in and look and see. And for a question like that, I would give you full points because you answered it correctly. You just didn't answer it the way that they wanted you to answer it, but you were correct. So feel free to do that.
Okay, great.
Okay, and I know it's a little bit of extra work, but it's always good to review your test to see where you went wrong, or in this case, where you went right. And the reward is that, I can bump up your mark. I can give you some extra points, and I've seen students' tests go like 10% higher just from doing that. So I think it's a good incentive for everyone to review their test and then see, and then you just send me an email with the questions you want me to look at.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah, so thanks for pointing that out. And then if I find that, students are having this problem with the same one, then I look at, okay, maybe we should change that for next term. So it's great all around. It's great for you guys. You guys get extra points, and it's great for me because I get to fix, improve the tests a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Okay, cool. Anything else you want me to bring up?
I think that's the only question I've run into so far.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is, and I do this with all, if we finish a little bit early, I'm just going to stay in the session, and you're, Andrew, Matthew, you're welcome too. I might have some other students that come in at the end, so I always like to stay just in case anybody's coming in at the end. But if you wanted to, go back and practice and work on a pre-test or work on some stuff, I'm here till 8:30, so you're welcome just to come back into session and ask questions if you like.
Great, appreciate it.
Okay, great, and good luck. Wednesday is the test, and it sounds like you are all working on 9.5, so you're right where you should be.
Okay, great.
Great. Okay, thanks, gentlemen.
No problem. See ya.
Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. I'm gonna take off myself and probably do at least my first pretest tonight anyway.
Oh, perfect, Andrew. I think that's a great strategy. And if you have any questions about the pretest, and that's also for anybody that's watching, do the pretest. If you have a question that you want me to review for you, just let me know in an email or through the discussion group, whichever one, and I can help you with that. And then you'll be all set for the test.
Okay, thanks again. Good night.
Good night, Andrew.